The last thing I want to talk about is modal interchange. So modal interchange is when you take a chord, or sometimes two chords, but it's just for a short period, and you borrow them from a parallel mode. So if we're in C major, I would take one chord from C Dorian or one chord from C Lydian, etc. And this kind of it breaks up those maybe diatonic chord progressions that sometimes are a bit boring. So just think of whatever key you're in, if it's C or E or something, borrow something from a parallel mode. So if you're in E minor, borrow something from E Ionian or E Dorian or E Lydian or E Mixolydian, whatever you want. There are some common ones, so I'll go over some common borrowed chords. Sometimes they call this modal borrowing instead of modal interchange or mode mixture. There's lots of different names for it, but I'm going to call it modal interchange here. So some very common ones are flat 2 major. So if we're in C major, the flat 2 major would be D flat major. It usually wants to resolve down a half step to the C major. So if I was going to do a chord progression like D minor, D flat major, C major. And of course, with all of these, feel free to add something else to it. So instead of D flat major, you could do D flat major 7 with added 9. So jazz it up a little bit, whatever you want. This comes from the Phrygian mode, so that's why you have major 7th there. Another one is the flat 3 major. This one comes from the Dorian mode. So if I wanted to do like E minor, E flat major, so this E flat major usually wants to go down a half step to the D minor. So the flat 3 wants to go down to the 2. It doesn't have to, but that's a common movement. And so you can actually put those two together. So let's see, I'll show you the flat 3 and the flat 2 in one chord progression. So here, E minor, E flat major 7, D minor 7, D flat major 7, that's a really nice one, kind of jazzy, but you can use that in rock or anything you want to. The next one is the 4 minor. This one is common for, it reminds me of like old doo-bop or something. Like doo-wop. What is doo-bop? That's not even a word. Sorry. Anyways, let me continue. So basically, this one, if you want like a really emotional turnaround in a pop song or a rock song, you can use this. So let me use the really common emotional girl chord progression. So I'll do C major, G major, A minor, F. So common chord progression, right? But this time, instead of playing the F, we're going to go from F major to F minor. So here, one more time. These are really common ones. So anytime you have that and you have your 4 major chord, if you want to add some drama, go from 4 major to 4 minor. Then back to C. The 1. So that's a common one too. That's also sometimes used with a kind of like 2-5 motion in jazz. So it will go like in C, like let's see. So I did normal 2-5, so D minor 7, G7, and it usually goes back to the 1, the C major 7. But here I went to F minor 7, 4 minor 7, and then the flat 7, 7, it's hard, and C major 7. So this 4 minor 7 comes from the minor mode. That's where it comes from. The next one is the flat 6 major 7. This one's very common. So this comes from the minor mode also. So let's say if I wanted to do something like common jazz progression, right? Or let me see another one. That's, the emotional girl chord progression I just went over. If you want to spice that up, add in this flat major 7. So instead of doing, I can do. So I just added this 6 major 7. Here, major. So yeah, major 7. Oftentimes this resolves down a half step to the 5 chord. Flat 6, major 7 to 5, 7. And then here. Or if I'm doing pop, I might do something like. So that. Like I said, so that's just flat 6, 7. The flat 6 chord, it's not a major 7, just a major chord. A flat major to G major. I'm sure you heard that many times. So that's another popular one. And the last one I'll show you that's very popular is the flat 7 chord. This one just goes from C to B flat, which is the flat 7. This comes from minor. So like I showed you before, you could do like a jazz thing. So 4 minor 7, flat 7 7, 1. But you can use it in a few other ways too. So if you have a major chord progression and you just want to add that in there, so. So that time I played 1 4 5, and last time I played flat 6 major, flat 7 major, and then 1. So this is a really common one. I think it's actually the ending for Super Mario. When you get to the very end of the level, they play this using an arpeggio. So it's something like. I think they changed it a little bit, but that's basically what it is. So it's just C major, A flat major, B flat major, and then C. So it's really easy, very common, and use that yourself. So if you think like, my chord progressions are too boring, try throwing a few of these in there. Last thing, I'm going to do an analysis of a song. Someone on a message board a few days ago asked about something. They wanted to analyze the song Voyager by Daft Punk. They said, why does this sound good? So I thought I'd go over it. So the song Voyager, the chords are basically E minor 7 with a 9, C sharp minor 7 with added 11, C major 7, and then D7 sus. So playing it all together, it's like this. And it goes and repeats over and over again. And so let's break this down and not put all these minor 7s and major 7s, because that can be confusing. But if we just break it down to the normal triads, we have E minor, C sharp minor, C major, D major. So at first I thought this is an E minor progression. And so if you look in E minor at the chords, I'll put them below, you can see that E minor, C major, and D major all fall within there. But then I thought, what is this other one, this C sharp? C sharp minor, why is that in there? But let's look in another mode, or another, I say tonality. So instead of looking in E minor, let's look at E major. In E major, they actually do have a C sharp minor chord. So that's all they did. They used a modal interchange chord in between there to kind of break up this normal chord progression. So this chord progression is really common in hard rock, but I'm sure, whoever wrote this, I don't know if it was Daft Punk or they sampled this from some funk artist or whatever. Whoever did it probably didn't want to sound like hard rock. They wanted more of a smooth sound. So what they did, they just kind of jazzed up the chords by adding a bunch of extensions and things to them. And then they threw in this modal interchange chord to kind of break up the harmony and give it a cool sound. And I think it really worked. If you're not familiar with the song, check it out. It's called Voyager by Daft Punk. Hopefully this video gave you some insights on how to use modal harmony. So, like I said, one thing you can do is just choose a chord progression, something that sounds good to you, play it through the whole song. If you think it's getting repetitive, move it up a half step or a whole step to kind of break things up. It'll work if you have the right rhythms and the right arrangement. There's tons of pop songs that do this. Another thing you can do is, if you have that chord or 2 or 3 chords that sound good, do that and then try moving them around. Try moving it down a major third or up a minor second or whatever you want, and try using that. That's what Joe Satriani did, and that was a hit instrumental song. And then, if that's not working or you want to try something else, try moving it, in sequences, like down a whole step every time, or down a minor third, up a major second, whatever you want. And so that's another thing you can do. And lastly, you can have a different, modality for each section. So you can have the chorus in one mode and the verse in another mode, and change it like that, like they did in Sweet Child of Mine. And lastly, if you have a chord progression you like and it's completely tonal, but you think, this is a little bit boring, I kind of want to spice it up, or it sounds good for most of it, but I want this lead in from the verse into the chorus to be more dramatic, try using a modal interchange chord. Use some of the ones I showed before, or using the other videos I wrote on modal harmony. Check out some of those characteristic chords and characteristic notes to find some of those and switch them in from a parallel mode, and try a few of those and see if those help give some spice to your songs. There's another way to use modal harmony, but it's a bit difficult. It's more non-functional. So if you're hearing guys like Alan Holdsworth or Wayne Shorter or Herbie Hancock, they're using this type of harmony, and I might do a video on this in the future. If you really want to know about this, leave comments below. Tell me, do a video on that, and I'll do it. But if you have any questions about anything, as always, leave them below. I hope this helps you. As always, subscribe, thumbs it up, all that good stuff. And until next time, see you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please remember to thumbs it up, check out some of my other videos below, and don't forget, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.